Did you ever imagine your own parents could be the reason for your biggest heartbreak? Get ready for a story that will leave you shocked and questioning everything. Hey everyone, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. Today, I'm sharing something incredibly personal, something that's taken me a long time to even begin to process. It's the story of my divorce, but more importantly, it's the story of how my own parents, with all their supposed good intentions, inadvertently played a huge role in its demise. I know, it sounds unbelievable, right? I was Aurora, happily married, living in the city, and genuinely believed I had the perfect life. My husband, let's call him Ethan, was everything I thought I ever wanted: kind, ambitious, and deeply in love with me. We had a beautiful apartment, promising careers, and a future that seemed as bright as the city lights surrounding us. But behind that shimmering facade, cracks were starting to appear, cracks that were slowly but surely being widened by, you guessed it, my parents. I'm going to take you back to the beginning, to the well-meaning comments, the subtle criticisms, and the seemingly harmless advice that ultimately chipped away at the foundation of my marriage. This isn't about blaming them entirely, but it is about understanding how even the people who love you most can sometimes be the architects of your downfall. My parents were always involved in everything. From my career choices to my friendships, they always had an opinion, a suggestion, a better way of doing things. And I, being the good daughter that I was, often listened. With Ethan, it started subtly. Little comments about his career choices, his family background, or even just his fashion sense. Are you sure he's ambitious enough, Aurora? My mom would say, or his family seems a little different, darling. Individually, these comments seemed harmless, almost like she was just looking out for me. But cumulatively, they created a constant undercurrent of doubt in my mind. Ethan, being the perceptive guy he is, started to notice. He'd brush it off at first, saying, "They just want what's best for you, babe." But I could see the frustration building in his eyes. The constant scrutiny, the subtle digs, it was taking its toll on him. He started spending less time around my family, which in turn made my parents even more suspicious of him. It became a vicious cycle, a self-fulfilling prophecy fueled by their well-intentioned meddling. What started as a loving family dynamic slowly morphed into a battleground, with Ethan and my parents constantly vying for my attention and approval. And I was stuck in the middle, torn between my love for my husband and my lifelong loyalty to my parents. The real turning point came during a family vacation. We were all supposed to go to a beautiful resort, a chance to relax and reconnect. But from the moment we arrived, the tension was palpable. My parents found fault with everything, from the food to the accommodations to the activities. And of course, Ethan was always at the center of their criticisms. One evening, after a particularly tense dinner, my dad cornered Ethan and gave him a fatherly lecture about his responsibilities as a husband. I wasn't there to hear the whole conversation, but I could see the anger simmering in Ethan's eyes when he came back to our room. He finally exploded, telling me that he couldn't take it anymore. He felt constantly judged and belittled by my parents, and he felt like I wasn't standing up for him. I tried to defend my parents, explaining that they just wanted what was best for me, but he wasn't having it. He said that their constant interference was suffocating our marriage, and that he needed space to breathe. That night, we had the biggest fight of our relationship. Words were exchanged, tears were shed, and the cracks in our marriage widened into gaping chasms. I knew in that moment that something had to change, or we were doomed. But I was too afraid to confront my parents, too afraid to break the lifelong pattern of obedience. Things went downhill rapidly after the vacation. The distance between Ethan and me grew wider, fueled by resentment and unspoken accusations. We started sleeping in separate rooms, avoiding each other whenever possible. The joy and laughter that had once filled our apartment were replaced by silence and tension. I tried to talk to my parents about it, but they just dismissed my concerns. "He's just going through a phase, darling," my mom would say, or "he needs to man up and appreciate what he has." They refused to acknowledge their role in the situation, instead placing the blame squarely on Ethan's shoulders. Their refusal to take responsibility only made things worse. I started to feel trapped, caught between my love for Ethan and my obligation to my parents. I knew that our marriage was crumbling, but I felt powerless to stop it. The constant pressure from my parents, combined with the growing distance between Ethan and me, created a toxic environment that was slowly poisoning our relationship. I began to question everything I thought I knew about love, marriage, and family. Was I destined to live my life according to my parents' expectations, even if it meant sacrificing my own happiness? Was it possible to break free from their influence and forge my own path? The breaking point came during Ethan's birthday. I planned a surprise party for him, inviting all of our friends and family. I was hoping that this would be a chance to reconnect, to show him how much I loved him and how much I appreciated him. But my parents, of course, had other ideas. They arrived at the party with a group of their friends, people who Ethan barely knew. They proceeded to dominate the conversation, talking loudly about their own accomplishments and subtly undermining Ethan's achievements. I watched in horror as Ethan's face fell. He tried to be polite, to engage in the conversation, but it was clear that he was feeling uncomfortable and out of place. Finally, he pulled me aside and said, "I can't do this anymore, Aurora." He told me that he felt like an outsider in my own life, that he was constantly being judged and compared to some imaginary standard. He said that he needed to be with someone who would put him first, someone who would stand up for him, someone who wouldn't let their parents dictate their life. And then he walked out. That was the last time I saw him for a long time. The party continued without him, but the joy had been sucked out of the room. I stood there, surrounded by my parents and their friends, feeling utterly alone. The divorce proceedings were messy and painful. My parents, of course, had plenty of opinions about how I should handle things. They encouraged me to fight for everything, to make Ethan pay for abandoning me. But I knew that that wasn't the right thing to do. I didn't want to drag things out to prolong the pain. I just wanted it to be over. I eventually agreed to a settlement that was fair to both of us, and we signed the papers. The day the divorce was finalized was one of the saddest days of my life. I felt like I had failed, like I had let everyone down. My parents tried to comfort me, telling me that I was better off without Ethan, that I deserved someone who would appreciate me. But their words rang hollow. I knew that they were partly responsible for what had happened, and I couldn't forgive them for that. I realized that their interference, their constant need to control my life, had ultimately destroyed my marriage. And in that moment, I knew that I had to break free from their influence, to start living my life on my own terms. It was a difficult and painful process, but it was necessary for my own healing and growth. After the divorce, I decided to move out of the city and start over in a new place. I needed to distance myself from my parents, to create some space for myself to heal and rediscover who I was. I found a small apartment in a quiet town surrounded by nature. I started spending more time alone, reflecting on my life and my choices. I realized that I had been living my life according to other people's expectations for far too long. I had allowed my parents to dictate my decisions, to control my relationships, to shape my identity. And in the process, I had lost sight of my own dreams and desires. I started to reconnect with myself, to rediscover my passions and interests. I took up painting, joined a hiking club, and started volunteering at a local animal shelter. I surrounded myself with positive and supportive people, people who encouraged me to be myself and to follow my own path. Slowly but surely, I started to heal. I learned to forgive myself for my mistakes, and I learned to let go of the resentment I have been holding on to. I realized that my parents, despite their flaws, loved me in their own way. They just didn't know how to express it in a healthy and supportive manner. Over time, I started to rebuild my relationship with my parents. I set boundaries, making it clear that I was now in charge of my own life and that I wouldn't tolerate their interference. It wasn't easy, but they eventually came to respect my boundaries. They started to see me as an adult, as someone who was capable of making her own decisions. We still have our disagreements, but we've learned to communicate in a more respectful and constructive way. I realized that it's possible to love your parents without allowing them to control your life. It's possible to maintain a healthy relationship with them, even if you don't always agree with their choices. The key is to establish clear boundaries and to communicate your needs and expectations in a clear and assertive manner. I also learned the importance of self-care. Taking care of my physical, emotional, and mental health is essential for maintaining a healthy relationship with myself and with others. I make sure to prioritize my own needs, to set aside time for relaxation and rejuvenation, and to seek support when I need it. Looking back, I can see that my divorce was a turning point in my life. It was a painful and difficult experience, but it ultimately led me to a place of greater self-awareness and self-acceptance. I learned valuable lessons about love, marriage, and family. I learned the importance of standing up for myself, of setting boundaries, and of living my life on my own terms. I also learned that it's possible to heal from heartbreak and to find happiness again. It takes time, patience, and self-compassion, but it is possible. Today, I am living a happy and fulfilling life. I am surrounded by loving friends and family, and I am pursuing my passions with enthusiasm and purpose. I am grateful for the lessons I have learned, and I am confident that I am on the right path. I'm also cautiously open to love again, but this time, I know what I need and what I won't tolerate. I'm no longer the naive girl who blindly followed her parents' advice. I'm a strong, independent woman who knows her own worth. So that's my story. It's a story of heartbreak, but also a story of resilience and self-discovery. I hope that by sharing my experience, I can help others who are going through similar situations. Remember, you are not alone. It's okay to prioritize your own happiness, even if it means going against your parents' wishes. It's okay to set boundaries and to protect your own well-being, and it's okay to seek help when you need it. If you've been through something similar, please share your story in the comments below. Let's create a community of support and understanding. And if you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more personal stories and life advice. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Okay, that's it for today's video. I really poured my heart out for this one, and I hope it resonated with you. If you liked this video, give it a big thumbs up. Leave a comment below sharing your thoughts or any similar experiences you've had. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more stories like this. And please share this video with anyone you think might need to hear it. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye. Like, comment, subscribe, share.